Hey there guys, welcome back, Ricky here. Okay, so today I'm going to do a video on flattening, stone flattening in particular. And since I've put my first video out about how often you should flatten your whetstones, and as I told you guys, I really don't flatten my stones at all until I really see some sort of physical development of a groove or some sort of dish or gully. And I've gotten a lot of very different opinions as to what I should do, and that's fine. I think a lot of people have a lot of different opinions, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I try to actually do some research. I try to figure out, exactly how many sharpenings will a stone take before you really see some sort of deviation from a flat stone. And there's nothing else out there that I can find. So I'm going to do a really simple experiment, and I'm simply going to take my CRX 1000. I'm going to flatten one side after every sharpening, and the other side I'm not going to, and that will give me at least some idea of how many sharpenings a stone, or at least a CRX 1000, can take before it really needs a flattening. Okay, so I've had my stones soaking for about a half an hour, and all I did was on one side, I actually marked just don't flatten with arrow pointing up, and then on the other side with the arrow pointing down, flattening okay, or flatten okay. And as you can see here, this stone has had about 10 sharpenings at this point. I've had I think about 6 or 7 videos using this stone, and I've also had some friends over recently where I had some demos and had about 3 or 4 guys sharpening their knives on this stone. And so all in all, it's right around 10 sharpenings, give or take a couple. It's really not going to matter much, but I'm just going to start with 10. And what I'll do, and I'll flatten this side before every sharpening or after every sharpening, whichever works out in terms of time. And I'm just going to find a really, basic number. It's a really simple test. I'm just going to sharpen. I'll probably sharpen my knives on this stone. At least on this side, after every 2 or 3 sharpenings, just so I don't have to sharpen every single day. So I'm going to really see exactly how many sharpenings can a single side of the CRX 1000 take. Very simple experiment. Hopefully this will clear out some of that fog that you guys are trying to see through. Again, there are a lot of people that will tell you that you need to flatten your stones after every use or before every use. I'm not on that boat. There are some instances where you may need a stone flattened more often, and that's with a yanagiba, a single-sided yanagiba, where one side has a bevel and the other side is just completely flat. In that case, you may need to flatten your stone more often. I still don't think every single time is necessary, but that's not the debate right now. I'm simply using a symmetrical grind kitchen knife, okay? And if even you have a 30-70 asymmetrical grind, it's really not going to matter a whole lot. I just have these here, but this is not going to matter if you have a symmetrical grind or a 70-30, 80-20. The only major difference is if you have a 100% grind on one side and 0 flat side on the other. That's where the rule may be a little different, but yeah, it's going to be a really simple experiment. I'm going to flatten. I'm actually not going to flatten this side. I'm actually going to flatten the other side. Let's do that first. So this is my flattening side. It's pretty much got like 0 usage. So, and I'm going to do the good pencil marking that everyone talks about. And there you go. And here we are. So. Alright, so as you can see, that took very little time. This is my Atoma 400, and I use the 400 because it takes off very little material, and yeah, and I think the finish on the 400 is better than the 140. And as you saw, it took no time to take off that pencil mark because there was really nothing to flatten. The stone was pretty much flat to begin with. There. Okay. And then I'm going to prep my other side. I'm simply going to run my inaugural stone, which I always do before my sharpenings. This is a cheap Nagara stone that I got for like, I don't know, $5. It's really all you need. I have a whole I've got a whole bunch of these just laying around the house or the studio here. And you don't need any particular brand of Nagara stone, just get one if you guys want one. And it's a lot cheaper than buying a flattening stone. So we're gonna find out, you know, exactly how much you need a flattening stone and if you need one at all. Alright, so I'm gonna use the non-flattened side first. And again, there's about 10 sharpenings here. And the next time you'll see this video, I'll do a follow-up video when this stone has been used maybe another 2 to 3 times. Or maybe 15 sharpenings. I'll do another video and see how the unflattened side holds up. Okay, and I've got my trusty brick. Again, I'm just gonna run my knives 20 times. They are quite sharp right now. My hand's a little wet, but that's okay. Yeah, you can see they are sharp, and they're wet too, so they're not grabbing the paper very well. So there you go. Okay. Okay, that's 10 times. Alright, that's 20 times, and let's do a really quick cut test on regular paper, and it failed, or it's failing. This guy should be just as dull, yeah. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to set this guy aside. Alright, so the first side, again, is going to be my don't flatten side, okay? So unflattened side, again, 10 sharpenings. And here we go. And the reason I'm using the Syrax is because it's a very fast cutting stone. As you can imagine, if I'm trying to do these, you know, these tests and I use a stone that cuts too slow, it's just going to take a lot of time, and I don't want to waste a lot of time. And I'm going to add some, a little bit of a towel on here, just bang a little bit. Okay, and again, this is not a review of the Syrax, though you know, maybe I'll give some feedback on it. Again, it feels great. 30 minutes is a really good soaking time, and if you guys like to have it more smooth, I think 45 minutes is fine too. Such a great feeling stone. pull off the load up here. As you can see, it comes off really easily. And that was 2 passes. Alright, so the stone is starting to load up ever so slightly here. Not a big deal. It's a very fast cutting stone, and that load up really not really hinder anything here. Okay, so I've got my most of my burr. I'm gonna do maybe one more pass just for safekeeping here. Now I'm going to flip the stone. Alright, so with this stone, because now it has about 10 sharpenings, what I am doing, and I'm making a slight conscious effort to do, is I'm actually bringing the knife to the different regions of the stone that you know, sometimes get avoided or get neglected in the sharpening process. So I'm going to focus more effort in the top and bottom region, or upper and lower region of the stone. Again, not absolutely necessary, but a good habit to develop when you have a stone and you don't have a flattening stone. Okay, so those 2 passes, and I've developed the burr already. So we're done with the sharpening portion of the knife. Now we're going to do some stropping, clean up the edge a little bit. Okay, so as you guys know, with stropping, all I do is I'm drawing that burr to the very apex of the blade. Okay, so the burr is now pointing, the burr is essentially pointing downwards right now. So by stropping the knife, I'm going to bring that burr up and towards the apex of the actual blade. Okay, so I'm going to start on the side where the burr is pointing and draw across, and as you guys can see, there's a lot of burr coming off, and or a lot of shavings coming off, and that is, a lot of it is your burr. 10 times. That was 8 times, and so I'm going to do 8 times on this side. We're going to go 6 times. That was 4. Now we're going to go 2 times. That was 4. Sorry about that. Well, lost track of my thought there. Now we're going to go 1 time, 1 stroke a few times. Okay. Alright, so now we are going to deburr. Let's do a real quick cleaning here. Alright, so we've got our deburring wood. And you should hear the noise get less and less pitchy, if that's the right word. It'll get dull, you know, it'll sound like the pitch is not as high with every stroke when you're deburring, and that's just telling you you're pulling off all that material that's on the very apex of the blade. So now we're going to do a few more single stroke strops to further clean that edge, and to now we're going to essentially polish that recently exposed edge from the deburring. I'm not really using any pressure right now on the blade. My fingers are on it just to kind of give it some stability. Okay. Okay, so we are done. Yeah, it's got a really nice edge right now. Okay, so now I am going to sharpen the flattened side. We're done with the unflattened side. Just do a quick cleanup. Alright, so this is the fresh side. got my other knife here. Okay, so I've just finished sharpening my knife, my Tojiro, on the unflattened side, and this side is freshly flattened. I'm just going to do another flattening on, or not flattening, a sharpening session with this guy here. Some nice warm water. Alright. Alright, so that was the first pass, and in all honesty, the knife feels exactly the same. I can really, yeah, I mean, I can't tell that I can't tell that this side's flatter than the other side. Okay, it feels exactly the same. And again, it might just be me that I'm maybe being stubborn at this point, but I don't feel any difference between this side and the other side. So that was 3 passes, and I'm getting very close. I think 4 passes will be just right for the stone. Again, cutting performance, it's exactly the same. I'm expecting to have 4 passes on the first side, and on the second side, I'm guessing it'll be 2 passes or so. Alright, so that was 4 passes on the first side, and the stone's very nice and clean. Feels great, just like the other side. Get this cleaned up. so that was pass number 1. And if you know, to make a good habit of sharpening, what I do is I actually sharpen from side to side. So I actually make a effort to actually sharpen the knife using as much of the width of the stone as I can. That's just a good habit. It's not something that you have to do, but something that you guys should be aware of. So not only should you focus going the length of the knife, but when you're actually when you're sharpening, what a lot of people do is tend to sharpen right here in the center, and that's where you get a lot of your groove developing. So if you focus your effort moving the knife sideways, upwards, and downwards, you will get a much more evenly exposed or evenly sharpened stone, or evenly wearing stone, than if you were just to focus your efforts in one area. Okay, so we've formed a really nice burr, and I'm gonna get the stone cleaned up real quickly. All right. Now we start our stropping. So again, you see all the black pre-burr, I guess you can call that, coming off the knife. Okay. Okay, that's 8. Okay, that's 6. That's 4. Now we're going down to 2. We'll do that a few times. Now we'll just drop one stroke per side. All right. quick deburring here. Alright, so now we do some more single stropping. Alright, so we are done here, and again, the edge feels great. It feels just like the other knife, and we're going to do a really quick cut test here. Clean off my knife. Do a quick hand rubbing of the stones. Alright, so the unflattened side has a little bit more build up, more load up here than the newly flattened side. And you know, even though that's just more of a cosmetic thing, it's not really hindering the performance of the knife at this point. At least I don't feel it in terms of sharpening. They both developed a burr on the first side, 4 passes, and on the second side, 2 passes. So in terms of cutting speed, they're pretty much, it's exactly the same at this point. Okay, got my other stones prepping for the next video. Alright, so we're going to do some quick newspaper stropping just to clean the edge up. Then we'll do a quick cut test to show you guys how they compare. Got the sniffles this morning. All right. Okay, so this is the knife that was sharpened on the unflattened stone. We're going to strop this one first. And again, all we're doing with newspaper is what it does is it pulls off the any excess debris that's on the edge of the blade, and it also kind of it semi polishes the edge. But most importantly, all you're doing is really allowing this newspaper to pull off any debris that you may have missed in the stropping process. Alright. And just take your time, don't rush. This is the time to really let the weight of the blade do the sharpening or do the stropping for you. Don't rush it, don't put any unnecessary pressure on it. Count down to 4 now. Okay, now we're down to 2 on each side. I'm using extremely light pressure, really no pressure at all, just the weight of my fingers on the blade. And you'll see very fine kind of a fog that develops on the paper, and that's really just the metal being pulled off of the blade and being kind of embedded along the surface of the paper. Now I'm just do single strokes per side for 4 to 5 times, and that will end it for this process right here. Okay, yeah, the edge feels really nice. You guys hear that? Yeah, when it has that toothy sound. Okay, so we'll put this guy aside, and here is the one on the freshly flattened side of the stone. Okay, so that was 10. Now it's not so important that you do 10 strokes, 8 strokes, 6 strokes, whatever that number is. What is important, in my opinion, is actually having equal amount of strokes on each side. Because what you're doing now is, the burr sometimes is, standing one side or the other, this way or this way, right? So as you are stropping, you are kind of evening that burr, okay? And hopefully you get to a point where the burr is really just standing on its end. Okay, so if you do, at a micro level, if you have one side that has more stropping, the burr may still be standing up, but it might be biased towards one side. So it's important that you strop evenly, and by the time you get to 1 stroke or 2 strokes per side, the burr is pretty much standing on end this way. But not so important how many stropping strokes you do, as long as you really feel that the blade is ready to go. That's really more important. It's going by feel. This is not so much a science, okay? Okay, so I'm down to 6 strokes now. Okay, here's 4 strokes. Here's 2 strokes. I'll do 2 strokes just about 3 times. That's kind of the number I generally go with. Here's 1 stroke. Now we're really just cleaning up that edge real nicely. And the blade feels very different now than it did when I first started stropping on the newspaper. Very, very smooth, and you should feel it too. And all the excess burr, or all the excess material, is really just pulled off. Alright, so I think we're done here. Yeah, you hear that sound? Sounds very toothy. Okay. Alright, so we're going to do a really quick cut test here. Do I have newspaper? Fresh newspaper? Very damp newspaper, and we're going to try. Maybe I'll use this piece here that's relatively dry. Alright. Okay, so this is a knife that was sharpened on the flattened side of the stone. Feels really nice. Big fold there. And here's the unflattened stone. And as you can see, it is very, very sharp, just as sharp as the other knife. But maybe I'll use the relatively fresh newspaper here. Let's do this. I chose Sarah. Okay. Let's do this. I really should go out and buy fresh newspaper, shouldn't I? This is it's getting to the point where it's getting annoying. Okay, here we go. So this is the knife on the flattened stone. Bad spot there. Let's go this way. Okay, so as expected, it's a very sharp knife. And let's see if this is any less sharp, being sharpened on the stone, or the side of the stone that has about 10 sharpenings now. Okay, so there is, in my opinion, no difference in sharpness at this point. If you were to measure it with a microscope, you know, protractor or whatever it is, you might find that there's a degree or half a degree difference, if there isn't such a thing. If there is such a thing, but you know, one comment I had was that if you don't flatten your stone is an 18-degree stone versus a 15-degree sharpening angle. That's completely bogus, in my opinion, my humble opinion. And again, as you guys saw, I sharpened both knives exactly the same way. They both achieved the exact same cut time of cutting passes. I don't have the stone. There we go. So here is the stone. This is the unflattened side, and here is the flattened side. Now, so on the flattened side, again, first knife, it took 4 passes to develop a burr. On the first side, on the second side, it took 2 passes, and on the flattened side, again, 4 passes to develop a burr, 2 passes on the second side. Cut speed, they're exactly the same. The load up pattern is a little different. As you guys can see, the load up is a little bit heavier on the unflattened stone, and you can really kind of see this, you know, that oval developing here. But again, it's the thickness between this area and this area may be a micron thick difference. Here, the load up is a little less pronounced, but still, there is a little bit of load up. And, you know, again, in terms of sharpening feel, hand feel, tactile feel, they feel exactly the same. Feedback, there is no difference there. So, you know, so the question, so back to the question is, how many sharpenings do you need or should you do before you consider flattening the stone? And I don't really know that number. There is no magic number. All I know is, so far, the difference between 10 sharpenings and 10 sharpenings and 1 sharpening, there is no difference, at least no difference that I can tell, okay? And again, I'm not an expert when it comes to sharpening knives. I'm sure somebody can tell you, you know, something differently, but so far, it's 10, and I really can't tell the difference yet. The next time I do this test, I probably will do it around 15 sharpenings. And so I'll have to kind of do extra sharpenings between sharpenings, between videos, just so I can get that number up on the unflattened side, and so we can do another comparison relatively soon. So I will do these tests, these videos in between the Battle Royale polishing whetstones right now. But yeah, so hopefully that maybe it clears that up, you know, maybe clears some confusion for you guys. I don't know if this would be helpful for you or not, but at least for me, so far, I know that at least I can go at least 10 sharpenings without having to worry about flattening my whetstone. And this is, you know, good news for those who don't have a flattening stone, because they are expensive. There are cheap routes that you can go, and you can go using mesh screens and sandpaper and all that jazz. That's fine, nothing wrong with that. I prefer to go with a flattening stone if I really want to flatten my stone, and it makes it easier, cleaner. But yeah, so this, you know, hopefully this gives you some idea, and the next time you'll see this video, I'll have a comparison between 15 sharpenings and a freshly flattened stone. So thank you for watching so far, and I look forward to catching you guys in the next video.